down, look at him. Look at the baby. He's so cute. Look at him. Look at the baby. He's so cute. He's so cute. Oh, he's scared.
All right, I'm gonna go.
You can go what?
I'm gonna stream here for a little bit. Okay.
That's streamer.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Let's freaking go.
So you're in the background right now, honey, of a live stream. Okay. Hello, everybody. We are streaming early access through the Omen Paths / online MTG Arena Spider-Man equivalent. And as I usually like to do in these early access sessions, as people are getting ready for pre-release this weekend, I'm going to start by working through a sealed pool or two. We're going to open the sealed pool now and build and do some looking at some of the cards and building. That'll probably take most of this first hour of streaming. We may have time to play a game or two, and if we do, that's great. But any of the remaining games of this deck that we build will be played tonight at 10 o'clock Central. So, like I usually like to do, let's just take a look at the rares that we opened. So we have Vigo, Enforcer of Ig's Crossing, 3/3 for 2 and a black. When Vigo enters, return target creature card with mana value 1 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's a pretty narrow condition, obviously. Do you have a 1-drop or not? And then 3 black, red, green, transform Vigo, activate only as a sorcery. This is a great time to talk about the fact that this is the first set where these modal double-faced cards can be cast for either side. So that means that you can the Vigo end of Ig's Crossing that's on the back that's why it has a casting cost listed for the first time. So you can either play the front side of Vigo and then pay basically Vigo's backside cost to transform it, almost like playing a second card in a way that replaces the first, almost like a legend rule that replaces the first legend, or you can just play Vigo from your hand for 6 mana. And the 5/5 version, Menace, Trample, Haste, obviously an instant threat when it comes in. Whenever Vigo attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. You may sacrifice. If you do, draw X cards and then put a permanent card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, where X is the sacrificed creature's mana value. You can imagine like that works really well if you, let's say, have a creature that's like bound or enchanted, pacified in some way. Then you just sack it and you can draw some cards, or maybe you just have let's say a 2-drop or a 3-drop that has kind of been stonewalled and can't attack. You can draw a few cards and put a different 2 or 3-drop, maybe something with an ETB, onto the battlefield. Then what I'm going to do here is since we started talking about this black rare, and we obviously have 2 other black rares in here plus 1 more rare that touches black, we're going to kind of stay on black for a minute to see what kind of synergy we have. Do we have any kind of a theme going on? So we have Egrix the Bile Bulwark, 4/4 Death Touch and Lifelink for 3 black. Whenever Egrix attacks, until end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library anytime and may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. So, you know, we've seen these effects in other places, but this is basically saying kind of in your second main phase, or maybe during combat if you have an instant on the top, you can, you know, maybe play a land. Like, you know, you start to imagine with this card, you probably don't want to play a land in the first main phase if you have Egrix on board, because you'd like to be able to play the land from the top of your library to see more cards and get more value out of that ability. Obviously, you can start siphoning through your life total pretty quickly, but you're not forced to play the card. You know, if let's say it's a large mana value card and you're low on life, you can always just opt to wait and draw that into your hand next turn, knowing what you're going to get, like seeing your next draw, you know, continuous scry kind of a thing. Of course, you know, one of the things to be aware of is that you're playing Egrix for 5 mana and you're not getting any immediate effect, other than, you know, a Death Touch life linking blocker is pretty good. And I should mention that 4 toughness is kind of the magic number in this set, where there's plenty of removal for that does like 3 damage or -3 to toughness or less, but there's a drop off when you get to 4. So this is for example quite a bit safer than the 3 is from a being resistant to removal effect. But you obviously would like this to stick. And that reduces its value a little bit, that it's going to have to stick. Then going to our other black rare, we have Wrench Speedway Saboteur. 2/3 for 3 black. So what is this steep cost going to earn us besides stats? When Wrench enters, look at the top 9 cards of target opponent's library. Exile 2 of them face down. So they don't even get to know what's exiled, and you do. Then put the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. You may play the exiled cards for as long as they remain exiled, which means you have 2 secret surprises coming, and mana of any type can be spent to cast spells this way. So, a really important thing here is realize that none of this says that Wrench still needs to be on the board. You can play them for as long as they remain exiled, period. So, what that means is you can kind of think of this as like 5 mana, 2/3, draw 2, but you're drawing 2 from your opponent's library, and you're drawing 2 with a massive amount of selection, right? Like, look at the top, like scry 9, pick 2 of them, right? And then you can ditch the rest of the cards on the bottom of your opponent's library. This is so powerful. I mean, like, you don't even care about the creature at this point. Like, it's a body, and Wrench can just die, and it's fine, and you can enjoy having all of that value that you already got out of Wrench. So it's got lasting value. This is a super great top of curve card for for what's going to be probably aggressive deck. Like, Vigo is kind of showing you what some of the more aggressive colors here are in black, red, green. We'll talk a little bit more of the archetypes as we start to build. But important thing about Spider-Man and Through the Omen Paths is that there are only 5 supported archetypes, so it's only the friendly mana colors. So you can see here white, green, you can see black, green. So we're talking about adjacent color pairs: white, blue, blue, black, black, red, red, green, and green, white. So the fact that you see a black, green card here already is a little bit suspicious, because black, green as an archetype is not supported. So why would you want to play black and green together? Like, you better have just a good reason of having good black and green cards, because that's not a supported archetype particularly. So just be aware of that as we go through here. But of the 3 black cards, like, I am definitely most excited to play Vigo, especially if I can go 3 colors with maybe some green fixing, and Wrench. I mean, out of the 3 black rares, like, I'm just purely looking at black, I'm most excited about Wrench, and then probably Vigo and Egrix. And Vigo's front side really depends on what other, like, one mana value, say commons and uncommons that we happen to have in our pool. Let's go to Bracco Heartless Hunter, the black green, the black green rare gold card in an unsupported archetype. But it's a 4/3 for 3 with trample. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with the greatest power among creatures that player controls dies, draw a card and put a +1/+1 counter on Bracco. So, it obviously likes black and black's ability to kill things, and you often want to kill their thing that has the greatest power, although not always. But you get rewarded when you do. I mean, your removal spells replacing themselves, like kill something, draw a card, and Bracco gets a counter, and Bracco has trample. Bracco could be a problem very quickly. I mean, this is kind of a B-level card just on its surface. It has to go in the right deck, of course, because the black-green thing is going to limit you in this set way more than in other sets. But this is definitely a card that has some interest. Let's go from there to green. 1 green for the Scouring Storm Soul, a sand elemental villain. I've got a soft spot in my heart for anything elemental. Avatar cannot come soon enough because of that. But the Scouring Storm Soul's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Notably, this is the cheapest power and toughness based on the number of lands you control card that Magic has ever printed. They've never had a 3-drop that does it before. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, which means when it comes in, it's presumably already going to be a 3/3 unless you're using a mana dork to bring it out, right? So it already can't be blocked by things that are on the board probably. And then 3 green, return this card and target land card from your graveyard to the battle tapped. So it's kind of got flashback in a way from your graveyard, and of course that's repeatable because it's not like it doesn't come with a finality counter, so it can just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So this is obviously a reference to like Sandman in Spider-Man, right? And then let's go right from green to green-white. Bridging that, we have 2 copies of Eleni Brood Recruiter, Spider-Human Hero. I think this is India Spider-Man in the main set, the green-white one, I think. Anyway, 2 green-white, so 4 mana for a 3/5 with NWeb. NWeb is the digital equivalent to web slinging, which is the new version of ninjutsu. So instead of removing an unblocked creature, you can see flashing up there, and web you can cast for usually cheaper if you also return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. Now, a really important thing to mention about this, think about common blue effects that are like tap your opponent's creature, or tap your opponent's creature and put a stun counter on it. The fact that this mechanic exists in that set means that those effects are going to play worse in this set, because your opponent can often just get out of that tapped creature thing by picking it up, by playing something with web slinging in paper or NWeb in digital. And then they're going to get value out of it, because not only are they going to pick up and be able to replay their thing and get it back onto the board untapped, but they're going to be able to play the NWeb creature for cheaper. Now, you notice you're only getting a 1 mana discount. So picking up your tapped creatures sometimes is going to be a cost. You really want to be picking up things with ETBs. Because otherwise you're ultimately paying more just to put that creature back on the board. But paying 4 mana for a 3/5, like that's on rate. And the ability, whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1. Like, the idea here is, even if the thing you pick up with this card doesn't have an ETB, this card is giving it an ETB of also create a 1/1. So now, like, whatever. Let's say you're playing this on 3 with its NWeb cost, and let's say you're picking up your 2-drop that you already played. Well, now your 2-drop comes in with a 1/1, right? Because if you NWeb this, if you play this for its NWeb cost, Eleni, and then you and then you play your 2-drop either like by double spelling on turn 4, or let's say you were just playing, let's say this was turn 5 and you played Eleni, picked up a 2-drop and played it again right away for your 5 mana. When you play it, now all of a sudden your 2-drop is a 2-drop that also comes with a 1/1. And we all know how good the multiple bodies cards have been in Magic. This makes every creature card you have a make multiple bodies thing. And then it's got pump your creatures +2/+2 in vigilance. Now think about that. We've seen like 5 mana cost come out of like green, 1 or 2 drops, right? Like 1 or 2 drop uncommons, and it's like give your creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. And maybe it's repeatable. Maybe it only costs 4 mana, but +2/+2 in vigilance is serious. Like you're getting in an attack, and you're not having to worry about the crackback. So, even play Eleni on 4. That's the worst case scenario. That's your fail case. Like play Eleni on 4. Don't play it for its in web cost, and use all 4 of your mana. Therefore, it has to survive until the next turn. It has to survive removal with 5 toughness, which is pretty good. And then on your next turn, you can pump your board. You have the threat of activation of pumping your whole board, or you could play a creature spell, or maybe 2, because maybe you're double spelling on turn 5, and then you're starting to go wide, because when you double spell on turn 5, if you double spell with creature spells, you're creating minimum 4 bodies because of Eleni's ability. It's not once per turn; it's anytime you cast a creature spell. So, Eleni is immediately reads like a pretty sweet card. I mean, I would immediately give it like a B+ grade in my own mind. I haven't done like an extensive grading of cards in this set, but just evaluating the cards as I look at them. Like Eleni's not an A level card because it doesn't just break the game when it comes in, or it's not an immediate answer. But like in my mind, B level cards are cards that are any card that is like, well, it doesn't break the game when it comes in, but it snowballs quickly and you better answer it in a reasonable amount of time or it'll take over the game. Eleni absolutely feels that way. And of course, Eleni's going to get a lot better the more creature cards you have in your deck. Let's go to a Demi of the Silk Shoots, the white rare we have. 1 and a white for a 3/2 flash that can give itself flying until end of turn at instant speed without tapping, and can sacrifice to give all your creatures hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. What an awesome card in combination with Eleni, right? Especially if you're going to play a creature-heavy deck and they, try to blow you out, or, you've got, kind of Mother of Runes-ish effects here, like protect the team. Just a sweet 2-drop, right? I mean, a 3/2 with flash that can give itself flying. It makes itself evasive, and later in the game you're probably going to have mana to do that. We know from looking at the cards in this small set that there are not a lot of mana sinks, so you're going to have the mana to do this later in the game very often. And then lastly, we have kind of the Lone Ranger here in the blue rare. We didn't end up with any red rares except for kind of Vigo's third color. But 3 and a blue for the Saga, Lost in Littjara. Surveil 3 initially. It's a lot of cards to look at when it first comes in. Although, you're paying 4 mana to not affect the board. So we got to be aware of that. That's a big cost. Like, that's a slow effect. Surveil 3. But then, Chapter 2, when you next cast a creature spell this turn, copy it. Keep in mind that, let's say that's turn 5 and you have 5 mana up now on your next turn after playing this Saga. It's when you next cast, not every creature spell you cast this turn. So you would, except the copy isn't legendary. There's lots of legendaries in this set. So, like, for example, like you play Wrench, and then if you're playing like in blue-black, for example, you play Wrench, and then Wrench happens twice, which is, you basically go through your opponent's entire deck and pick 4 cards to play later, and they can't play them, and then the rest of them go back in the bottom of their deck. super powerful. So you you would ideally like to be casting like a really powerful creature spell the next turn, a 5-drop, some massive, harm them legendary. And then chapter 3, choose a card name. Whenever the creature with the chosen name deals combat player damage to a player this turn, presumably the idea is the card that you duplicated, because now you have 2 copies of it, so you could potentially draw 2 cards. Would be pretty nice if that creature was a double striker, right? And could deal combat damage twice. But you can see, like, this saga's asking a lot of you, and it definitely wants to be in a slower deck because you're gonna be waiting for the value that comes out of this. Lot of value in chapter 2, but you have to be able to survive kind of doing nothing on turn 4. A nice thing that plays together here is that the Surveil is letting you kind of filter through those next 3 cards and be like, oh, well, if I don't have the creature card that I want to copy in my hand, I can look through my next 3 cards and try to find it and at least reorder my cards and put the, bomb 5-drop or something in my hand. You get the first chapter definitely supports the second. And then the third chapter, that kind of depends on how much evasion you have and how good your attack can be the next turn with those creatures. So anyway, those are our rares. Let's now go and start to do some building. And I'll try to go here so that we have a little bit bigger view. And I am going to do what I like to do first, which is we're going to go uncommons just to see what we have in our uncommons here. One thing to note is that we have both of the red-green uncommons. Now we didn't have any of our other rares touching red, but we did have the black, red, green rare, and you could say, well, you could play red, green, and maybe the green will allow you to splash the black. That's possible. Dreadfang, loathed by fans. Power equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. That's a pretty big ask. But you need to realize that it's going to count itself. So what's Dreadfang's smallest power going to be? It's never going to be worse than a 3/4. That's really important to remember. Because it itself is mana value 3, right? So when you play it, if your only other permanents on board are your lands, mana value 0, right? It's not your greatest mana value among other permanents you control. It's your greatest mana value among permanents you control. So it's going to be a 3/4 at worst with Vigilance. Vanilla, it's okay for 3 mana. But 4/4 Vigilance, 5/4 Vigilance, like, it potentially gets better as the game goes on. Still vanilla, but, it's a decent uncommon. The nice thing about this is the floor of this card is not horrible. It's a 3/4 with Vigilance. Well, we already talked about 4 toughness is going to matter in this set. So, yeah, okay. It's fine, right? It's like a, what? Like a C+ level card. It's going to be fine. And I can't ever see you not including this in a red-green deck. Like, it's a good creature, and it's slightly above rate for a 3-drop, and it can grow to be well above rate. All right, and then there's unpronounceable, like, Zika, Keka, like, Xka, who knows? Depends on what linguistic tree it comes from. But anyway, huge casting cost, 7 mana, 6/7. You're not playing this unless you're in red-green. Vigilance, trample, haste, attack immediately, wreck game, right? Whenever, should we do a thing on the stream here? Should we just call this card every time? Whenever that attacks, if you've cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater this turn, which obviously you will have done when you play it, draw a card. So you play this, you attack with it, you draw a card. So unless they immediately play instant speed removal on your turn right after you play the card, it's a 7 mana 6/7 draw card, and it has a potential to draw you a card every turn thereafter. So, I mean, big casting cost, but definitely a game ender in red-green, which is a very aggressive color pair in this set. Where should we look? We saw a lot of black rares first. Let's see what kind of uncommons we have to support that. Aggressive Symbiosis, 1 in a black enchant creature. It has +1/+1. It has Menace. It's a symbiote in addition to its other types. This is, kind of referring back to Spider-Man and Venom and those kinds of things. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. So it can keep coming back. You can maybe ditch lands later in the game and give a different one of your creatures +1/+1 and Menace. So it's a repeatable aura. Kind of cool. Like, it creates some evasion in your creatures, right? Remorseless Coup, 2 in a black for an instant. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. You lose 2 life unless you control a villain. There are lots of villains in this set. The villain colors are blue-black, but there are a lot of villains. We can look through in a minute and see how many villains we have. This is really interesting for a black instant, though, isn't it? Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. That's a blue effect. Comes with life loss unless you control a villain. Like, it wants you to be playing the blue-black colors. Kind of like, if you play blue, you get this like a blue effect, right? In a certain sense. But it's very interesting. I don't know. I'm not big on the history of Magic. I'm no expert because there was a 25-year span where I didn't play. I only restarted playing Magic in New Capenna after starting way back in the day. But anyway, I don't know. I would be surprised if an effect like this has ever existed in black. It's a very interesting hedging of the color pie rules. But let's just look at how many villains we have in our pool. And you can see, there's a ton of them, right? I mean, this is just our pool, and we have, 21 villains, including 3 copies of this one, and 2 of this one, and 2 of this one. Although, some of these cards are, referring to costing less if you control a villain. But we definitely have villain support here. We have a lot of black cards that are villains. We even have a few green cards that are villains. Braco itself was a villain, that rare we looked at earlier. So, a couple of colorless villains. So anyway, there's plenty of them. Where you can even see that we could play green-black, which isn't even a supported archetype. We talked about that. And have access to plenty of villains, including Storm Soul, the sand villain, right? So, anyway, back to the uncommons for a minute. Looking at green, we have Ancestral Carvings, 2 in a green artifact. When it enters, look at the top 5 cards, reveal up to 2 creatures, put them in your hand, rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and sack it to create a treasure token, so it helps you fix once. This is a kind of a nice card for if playing green-white with all that, you want a creature-heavy deck. Selesnya Archivist, 3 in a green for a 3/3. When it enters, either return target card with mana value 4 or greater from your graveyard to your hand, or exile target artifact or enchantment. Naturalize effect with a different option is always good. That's a really good optionality there. I mean, really good variety in what you can choose out of the Selesnya Archivist. That is, Selesnya, I'm green-white, right? Yeah, maybe, but you could see this playing in a lot of different green decks, right? Terrific Team Up, 3 in a green instant. Costs 2 less if you control a permanent with mana value 4 or greater. That's red-green's thing, by the way. It's got another of the mana value 4 or greater set of cards. 1 or 2 target creatures you control get +1/+0, and then each deal damage equal to their power to target creature an opponent controls. That's a pretty cool failsafe for a 4-mana card that you are hoping to play for 2 less. I mean, obviously, if you play this on turn 4, you're not going to have a mana value 4 or less card on the board unless you have ramped. And you were able to play a mana value 4 card on turn 3. But if you play this after turn 4, you may very well have such a card. And playing this for 2 later in the game is gross. I mean, you're double spelling for sure. This is a great effect for 2 mana. But the cool thing is it's 1 or 2 target creatures, and so a lot of times you can just choose 2 target creatures, each of which could kill the opponent's thing, and you're just protecting yourself against getting blown out. So that's nice protection. Definitely one of the reasons that it's an uncommon. The thing I want to look at next is potentially the red uncommons, because we have both of the red and green uncommons. Like, do we want to play like some combination of black, red, and green, or do we want to play like green, white? You know, it's a good question. But a big thing to look at is removal. We already saw we have some black removal, but we're going to go and look at our removal in just a minute. Firebrain Scheme, 1 mana sorcery. Either exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one, and you can play it. So, I mean, kind of a 1 mana red draw spell. Cheap, right? Nice later in the game. Like, you would not mind drawing this late in the game. Give you some selection. And then 1 or 2 target creatures each get +1/+0 and first strike until end of turn. Nice optionality into a... I mean, it's a sorcery, so be aware of that. You're not playing this at instant speed during combat. But you can set up a really deadly attack pre-combat. And so, like, do you need to draw cards, or do you have a board? This looks like another... Just, you know, the terrific team-up, great optionality. Firebrain Scheme, cheap, great optionality. Cam and Ferric Havoc Duo. This is actually the equivalent of one of the Green Goblin cards in Spider-Man, because Green Goblin is a goblin human, right? So they're going to make it. There's a goblin and a human in the Omen Path set. 1/2 Flying Haste for 1 and a red. Whenever you discard a card, Cam and Ferric gets +2/+0 until end of turn. This is kind of a secret black-red gold card, because black-red's thing is discard and mayhem, which is like the madness version of this set. You're not going to be discarding cards very much in like red green. You know, tormenting voice effects, sure, but you would like to be having a lot of discard going on, so that you maybe make this a 3/2 Flying Haste or a 5/2 Flying Haste. So this is probably not living in like a red-green deck, but if we were to end up red-black, then we might be more interested in playing it. Wisecrack, 2 and a red instant. Target creature deals damage equal to its power to itself. Sirkovitz did an analysis on this card, and I'm trying to remember the percentage of cards, the percentage of creatures that he said this affects. It's not massive. It's something like 55% of commons and 35% of uncommons, or something like that. You know, we just saw a card like this in Edge of Eternities that did double damage when you double damage to a flying creature, which was definitely better. But if that creature is attacking, Wisecrack deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So, you know, this protects you on the crackback. It's kind of cool. It's got crack in its name, right, in that way. But anyway, you know, it's a halfway decent, like, red removal spell. Instant speed's nice. Lavaborn Goblins, 5 mana, 5/4 haste, but with Mayhem for 2 and a red. So this gives us a chance to talk about Mayhem. Madness, you had the option to play the card right when you discarded it. It never went to your graveyard. You got to choose, like, does it go to my graveyard or do I play it for its madness costs? Mayhem, the card goes to your graveyard, and then you may play the card for its cost for the rest of that turn. But that means like timing rules apply. So Madness had the advantage that it would let you do a bunch of things at instant speed, even if you couldn't normally play them at instant speed. Mayhem, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, this is a creature, you have to play it at sorcery speed, like in your main phase. But once you discard it, you can play it for the rest of the turn. So even if you want to play it like second main or something like that, obviously this creature with haste you'd probably want to play in your first main phase, but that's kind of how Mayhem works. So we've got a couple of cards that care about the discard thing. And then what else haven't we looked at? Tyrell Entropic Hunger, 3/1 Flying Vigilance, Lifelink for 4. Obviously, it's a glass cannon. It's really fragile. But this is a card that also doesn't mind being discarded because you can exile it from your graveyard for 2 mana. Look at the top 3, 1 in your hand, rest on the bottom of your library. So it's got quite a bit of utility there. And even if your opponent kills it right away, you can get some additional value out of it. What do we have in white? An equipment that gives +1/+1 in reach, and when it attacks top target creature and opponent controls. We've seen that a lot, right? We've seen stuff like this a lot. Pay 2, equip for 2. You know, it's okay. Enables attacks for sure. White green. You know, you could tap their biggest blocker repeatedly. And again, not a lot of mana sinks in this set, so you're probably going to be able to pay the equip cost more often than you think. Sudden Strike, 1 and a white instant, destroy target attacking or blocking creature. Really cheap for that effect. Not a tapped creature, attacking or blocking. So it's got an upside and downside. Opponent's creature is just tapped for some reason. You can't just destroy their tapped creature if it was tapped some other way. But it will kill things that have vigilance, that are attacking or blocking. So an attacking vigilant creature can be killed with Sudden Strike. Still, definitely, you know, we know that these effects are better in a defensive, slower controlling deck, not so much in an aggressive deck. So this doesn't really support like a white-green go-wide attacking plan. Robotics Mastery, 5 mana, flash enchantment. When it enters, create 2/1/1 flying robots. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. You know, combat trick that creates 1/1s. Kind of better defensively because you can create the 1/1s and like, surprise, I can block you kind of a thing. Pretty easy to blow out, right? 5 mana. You better watch the open mana when you play it. Because they kill the thing you're flash enchanting, and you're very sad. Ulk's Mouth to Many Eyes. Look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast spider spells and non-creature spells from the top, and when you attack, you may mill a card. Kind of blue-blackish, maybe, and blue-green's not really supported. But definitely expensive, 6 mana, 4/4, and doesn't do anything immediately. Although whenever you attack, could be your other creatures, so maybe you can mill a card when it comes in, but that's an expensive 4/4, do nothing right away. Like some time has to pass. By the way, blue is not one of the main spider colors either. It's the Naya colors have a lot of spiders in them. The colorless uncommons, Cactarantula Saddle, kind of reference back to OTJ there. 1 mana equipment, +2/+2, and is a spider. Equip for 3. Meh. You know, it's fine, but it's nothing special. And Error 9 Viral Node, 4 mana, 3/3. Artifact Robot Villain. Beginning of your combat, on your turn, non-equipment artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness, 3/3 until end of turn. Untap it. So, you know, treasures and can't be equipment, though. That's pretty limiting. Your saddle cannot do that. And but activate some other artifacts. I mean, you know, 4 mana, 3/3 that makes something else a 3/3 that isn't already a creature. So definitely helps with like a go wide plan. Like this might fit okay into like a green-white kind of a plan potentially. So now let's go and let's try to build some things out of this. Let's go to, let's see. Let's just look at the commons, and we're going to look at what common removal that we have. Let's see. We have 2 copies of Mothring Shroud. That's the Oblivion Ring effect. 3 mana enchantment. So we've got 2 copies of that. Let's see. This card is great, by the way. This is early several other creators in early access have mentioned that this is their early pick for best common in the set. The one in a blue instant draw card, and then one creature you control connives. Um, so you draw a card, and then you loot, and you potentially put a +1/+1 counter. It's an instant, so it can be a combat trick. There have been some blowouts on this. Let's see. What else do we have here for removal? Damning Caress is 5 mana, destroy target creature, gain 2 life, but it's 2 less if you control a villain. Not too hard to get a bunch of villains on board in black. Fail case, 5 mana, destroy creature. You know, it's a common, right? Its fail case is not going to be amazing, but it's unconditional removal. Let's see. Deathflame Versed, we've got 2 copies of that. Deal 4 damage to target creature. And Mayhem for 1 and a red. So that wants to play red-black pretty bad, doesn't it? I mentioned that 4 toughness was kind of the magic number. This is sorcery speed removal, so keep that in mind. That's part of the reason it's a common. But it's on rate for what we've seen previously in red, like 3 mana deal 4, and it could be 2 mana deal 4. It's a totally decent removal spell and hits that magic 4 toughness number too. Let's see, nothing else in red. Let's see here. What else do we have for removal? Notably, we have a blue-black land here. There's common land cycle that enters tapped. We have a black-red land. We have a white-green land. We have a green mana dork that adds red or green and can untap and do it twice. Plays nicely with our red-green rares, doesn't it? Vibrant Cityscape, that's like the Evolving Wilds equivalent here. Sack it, go get a basic, and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So you can see we've got a decent amount of fixing here, and what are we fixing for? Well, we've got 2 copies of this, which will help us fix. Steelweb Surveyor is a 2 mana, go get a basic land, put it on top. It's like the Dune Mover of the set, but it's obviously fit the set. It's a spider with reach. Let's see. Treat Trolley is the 3 mana Manolith. Its bonus is make food, but it can do 1 mana of any color. That food, though, plays nicely with that 4 mana 3/3 that can turn any artifact into a creature on combat. So that's something to note. But we definitely have fixing to play around with some stuff. Like, just to start to imagine, playing. We could play like. We could play black-red and maybe play like this red-green thing to be able to splash something in green. We could play, and we've got the cityscapes too. We could play the cityscapes and like build a red-green deck and splash black and also splash white. So we could do several things here, right? Potentially splash those like those green-white rares that pump our team. Maybe let's start. We don't have any. We don't have any green removal, I think. Let's get out of commons for a minute. Let's just look only at green and make sure I'm not wrong about. Oh yeah, no. We had the Terrific Team Up. That's right. So we have Terrific Team Up is a green removal spell. You kind of have, Naturalize lets you get rid of an artifact or enchantment, but that's pretty conditional. And yeah, that's our only real green removal. Looking at your removal spells, right? We didn't have any blue removal. Our blue is really limited. You can see here there's, yeah, we don't have any blue removal. Our blue is really thin. Did you notice that? Very thin blue. I mean, we have a couple of like blue touching cards that are using hybrid mana, but our blue is really thin. So we are least likely probably to play blue. But we've definitely got the makings of like a black, red, green deck here, meaning that our possibility of playing Vigo is pretty high. We've got all the fixing to do it. So let's do this. Let's get rid of the Mothwing Shrouds. Let's leave all of our black, red, and green removal in there. We got 5 removal spells. That looks pretty good. Let's go in. Let's go into our rares and uncommons and throw in some of the cards we looked at before that we might be particularly. Oh, Remorseless Coup is removal. Put it on the bottom of the library. Lose 2 life. Let's throw that in there too. That gives us 6 removal spells as kind of a core, and we could, we can get rid of some of them if we want to. Oh, Wisecrack. That, yeah, can't forget about that either. Also removal. But now let's just start building based on this. Let's put in. Well, first, let me get rid of this for a minute, and let's go to the lands. I mean, based on what we have here, we would want maybe the cityscapes. We would want this red-green creature that's a mana dork that could potentially play mana twice. The black-red land makes a lot of sense. I'm going to put in the green-white land right now because I'm kind of interested in playing that green-white legendary. Let's see. Let's put in Bracco as sweet, especially with removal. Let's put in Dreadfang. Let's put in Kaka. Let's put in both copies of Eleni. And let's see. I don't know if I want to put in Error 9 quite yet. Let's see. All right. Now what do we want to put in here? Grow extra arms. So funny. Doc Ock, right? +4/+4, but 1 less if it targets a spider. Storm Soul is our rare based on lands. That seems sweet. 4 for a creative treasure token. That's fine. I like the Archivist having the naturalize effect and bringing something back. That's pretty cool. 5 mana 4/3 with an in web. Search for a basic land card. I don't want to be ramping on turn 5. 6/6 reach trample ward 2. There's 2 of them. I might want 1, maybe. 2 mana 2/2 that can pump itself a little bit. Yeah, okay. 1/3 trample that gains counters when you play big things. I like that a lot. That seems really good. Good blocker early and gets to be a problem. 2 mana vehicle where you can pay green to go get a basic land. That's a lot of work. Because you have to pay it when it enters. So you're doing it on a later turn. I'm not very interested in that. Ancestral Carvings, go get creatures and create a treasure token. Maybe. I'm going to put it in for now, and we'll see if we like it. All right. That's kind of all I'm really interested in green. Let's go and put some things in red. I love the Firebrain Scream utility. 1/1 haste. Discard it, and basically it can rummage once, kind of. But it's a free discard outlet. So that's potentially good for some of our... We got a little bit of mayhem stuff going on, right? So, maybe free mayhem stuff. 4 mana 4/3 mayhem for 2, whatever, fine. 5 mana haste mayhem for 3. I'm more interested in that, especially because 4 or more type of stuff, right? 2/3 reach. Whenever it becomes tapped, you may rummage. how often are you going to attack with it? I mean, if you cruise something, whatever, fine. Galvanized Workforce, 2 mana, 2/2 trample. When you cast something with mana value 4 or greater, it deals 1 damage, and you can put 2 counters on it for a massive amount of mana. It's repeatable, but it's like a fine 2 mana, 2/2, I guess. Like, it wants to wear counters pretty bad. Like, it's good with Eleni, becomes a 4/4 trample, obviously. Here's our, typical 2 mana 3/1 that can give stuff haste. Fine. 1/2 flying haste when you discard a card, but that's only good if we're discarding a lot of cards. Where are we with creatures right now? 12/9? It's okay, I guess. Let's look at black. A lot of our rares were in black, remember. We would really like to play Wrench. Like, Wrench is great. Egrix, maybe. 3 mana 2/2 flash flying mayhem for 1. That seems great. Like, just a little add-on. That's such a cheap mayhem cost. Discard this card. Now, how much discard do we really have? 2/1 lifelink for 2 that can deal damage, like, repeatably. That's not bad. I like that card. 2 mana 2/2 that dies into a treasure. That's typically been pretty good and kind of helps our ramping plan. Aggressive Symbiosis. We'll see. There's a cycle of these artifacts that are like have a color ability. 2 mana enters, draw a card, replaces itself. Kind of a Prophetic Prism ability. And then 2 mana sack this artifact, mill 4, and put a creature card into your hand. Yeah, I mean, kind of draw a card later in the game. It's kind of cool. I would love to play all 3 of these like Flash Flying Mayhem cards, but the problem is we don't have very much. Discard going on. We have very little repeatable discard. So that immediately says to me that we might want to get out of red and not do a ton of playing red. Like this Mayhem card. Like, we're still going to play the removal spells, right? That's all fine. But, like, we're playing Death's Flame versed, but like, maybe we want to get rid of the kitten, and Wisecrack is fine, but let's see, we could play Dreadfang, but it's not super powerful, so I'm gonna kind of get out of this red-green thing that we're in here. I don't know why we still have. What is wanting us to have white mana? Oh, that's right, Eleni's wanting us to have white mana, and the Cityscape plus the Sanctuary lets us play both copies of Eleni because we have 4 sources, plus like a little bit of treasure stuff going around. Firebrain Scheme, I mean, I like that card, but we don't have to have it. Leyline Weaver can be played for either red or green. Awesome. This is such a good 2-drop. I love this card. I mean, 2-drop that ramps you to 4 on the next turn, and then mana value 4 or greater. Like, this is letting us play the 4-drop on 3, and then you have the you have the team up on 4. That I love it. So I think like playing like a black green base here, playing Vigo and being able to play it. We're getting close here on 37 cards, right? And we're at what, 12 and 8? So let's see, what could we do? What did we have that was making a food when it came in? What was making food? Oh, right, the Mana Rock was making food, right? The Treat Trolley was making food. So I'm just thinking, why was I thinking about making food? Why did that matter? The 4 mana thing. This is a 4 mana value, like plays into our 4 mana value theme, right? And makes another artifact. And what other artifacts do we have? One other artifact, that's the Ancestral Carvings, that comes in that sacks into a treasure, which is another artifact that Error 9 can use. You know, we only have one other. Error 9 doesn't have a lot of targets for this. So, you know, we have things that, like, Enforcers or Crook dies into a treasure, you know, fine, whatever. But, you know, if we want to fill this out, you know, maybe we play the Surveyor, which will help us get a basic if we want it. That smooths out your drops, right? Like, if you only have a 2-land hand, this is a great creature because you can guarantee yourself that 3rd land. These cards kind of go together, Treat Trolley and Error 9. But what else would we want to play? Mob Hideout can be played for black. 0-3 that connives, it's pretty slow. Let's see. You know, here's another 2-mana 2/2, whatever. We could play another 6-mana 6/6 if we wanted to. But we have a lot of stuff at the top of our curve already. I'm not super interested in that. 4-mana 4-drop that creates a treasure, which means it's a 4-mana ramp you to 6. That's maybe kind of interesting here. We have 4 4-drops already. How badly do we want to ramp to 6? Not that badly. We only have 1 6-drop. That's not super amazing. 4/3 and web for 3. That, yeah, I can't do it right now. I'm gonna have to be convinced about that card, within web and so on. Do we have anything that we don't have really anything that discards now, do we? I don't think. So maybe we just play the Gravestone to draw a card early, and like Symbiosis to give us some repeatable value, and like let's just see how that is. I mean, Firebrain Scheme, we could always put that back in. That's just, it's a pretty sweet card and worthy of being considered to be put back in. But let's see where we are now. So for 2-drops, we have Crook, we have Enforcers, we have Lizards, we have Weaver, we have Surveyor. We have 5 2-drops. And then we have, yeah, we're at 13 and 10. Not great, but Eleni making creatures create extra creatures is really upping our creature count artificially. And what do we have to play for cheap? We don't have any 1-drops, but we have 2s. We have Vigo as a 3 plus removal. Carvings goes and gets more creatures. Storm Soul, Braco. Like we have 2s. We have a ton of removal at 3 plus some other stuff, plus some other creatures. And we have things that can ramp us to 4. So, you know, we've got that going on. We've got Crest. How many villains do we have? That's important to know. We have 7. That's, you know, pretty decent. We're going to be able to play Caress for 3 a reasonable amount of the time. And that helps us gain life and kind of catch up. And Wrench is like a big game ender, as is Eleni starting to fill the board. Like we get up here, we want to survive for a little while, and then let's look at our color sources. We already know that white is okay. Double Cityscape plus Sanctuary plus Plains. That's 4 sources for our 2 cards here. Black, we have 5, 6 with Asylum, 7, 8 with Cityscape. Not bad. Mountain, we have 2, 3, 4, 5 for our 3 cards, and Leyline Weaver also can create red, so that's 6 sources for 3 cards. Fine. And then our Forest, 5, 6, 7, 8 with Cityscape. Like, the mana's okay. The mana works. And especially because we have no 1-drops, like, we're going to be totally fine playing a tap land early or playing Cityscape on 1 and sacking it and not worrying about what we play. I think we've got a pretty decent deck to try here. So I'm out of time for this stream, but we've got the deck built. Feel free to rejoin at 10 p.m. Central tonight, and we'll play some games with this deck, see how it goes. Maybe swap some cards in and out based on how things do. But I think we've got a good base for a sealed deck. Playing in black-green, colors that Wizard says aren't supported, but we're going to give it a shot, kind of using red to tie it together. So thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you on the next stream later tonight.